Hello and welcome back to the Air Armoury. I'm JRH and today is an extra video in which I will be answering some of the questions that I regularly receive in the YouTube comments and on Facebook. Now this isn't a Q&A as such, as I'm not answering specific questions from individuals. These are just questions that I'm frequently asked. And they cover a wide range of topics, but most are in relation to the content and production of the Air Armoury videos. Now the questions and answers aren't in any specific order, with the exception of the first one, as the answer to that question does influence the answers to some of the other questions later on. And I've got my questions as well as a few prompts to help with my answers written down so that I don't miss anything out. So let's get started. Why don't I put out videos more often? So as it stands at the moment, I put out, or guaranteed to put out, one full-length regular Air Armoury video each month, and that is always out on the first of each month. And really the answer comes down to time. It can take me quite a lot of time to make the videos, especially ones with a lot of research, as well as other commitments. So I have a full-time job, family, other hobbies, and also I can go for a few months at a time without making any videos, and then I'll make half a dozen in one go. So by doing just one a month, it allows me to create a bit of a backlog, so that I can be guaranteed to put out regular, albeit infrequent content. But I do also try and put out extra videos like these on an ad hoc basis between the regular videos. I do have a plan to put out a few more videos, but I'll cover that in the answer to another question further on. Can I make a video on? So I get a number of requests about making videos mainly on certain guns, but also on kind of pellets and scopes and things. In theory, my answer to all of those, or nearly all of those, would be yes, if I have access to them. Obviously there's a limit to how many guns I can get my hands on. Now if you own one of those guns and you want to see a video on it and learn a bit more about it, and there's any way that we can facilitate using your gun for a video, then let me know and we'll see if we can work something out logistically. How many air guns are in my collection? Now this is something I get asked quite a lot, and the answer may surprise people in not many. At the time of making this video, I currently own 6 air guns, 4 rifles and 2 pistols. Now I've previously owned dozens and dozens of guns, all of which I've made videos on. Some of those have been uploaded already, some of them are still in the backlog that I mentioned earlier. I find, whilst I have specific interests, one of those being kind of military training air rifles, at this point I don't really have the money or the space to maintain a large airgun collection. So generally I have kind of a rotating or a revolving collection where I buy guns and sell them on, with just a handful of favourites that I will keep permanently. Also I sold off a number of guns recently, with the possibility of airgun ownership restriction looming in the UK. I wanted to clear out a few guns whilst I was still able to get their full market value. There will actually be another video coming up in a couple of weeks though, in which I will go through my current collection of those 6 guns, show you what they are, but also just tell you a bit about them, kind of why it is that those are the ones I've kept and how I got hold of them. What was the point of the air shotgun? For those people who haven't seen it, I made a 2-part video on building an air shotgun. I say building, I essentially just converted a regular break barrel rifle. Now it looked pretty good, and the kind of mechanical operation worked as I'd wanted, but it wasn't very powerful or very accurate. But that didn't really matter, because my whole purpose of doing it really was I wanted a project and for it to be a bit of fun, and it was both of those things. So the accuracy and the power were irrelevant really. Why do I say TwoTwo instead of 22? Essentially because I'm British and that is the correct pronunciation in Britain. 22 is a unit of measurement, it is 0.22 of an inch, and I say TwoTwo the same way that I would say 177 rather than 177. Now I realise that in other countries, specifically USA, the accepted pronunciation is 22. That's fine, it's just not here. Can I talk less and shoot more? Well, yes and no. Regard to talking less, the main point of my videos is really to be informative and to put in as much information as possible, it does, like it or not, require a lot of talking. If you just want all shooting and not a lot of talking or background information, then maybe the Armoury isn't a channel for you. So no, I'm not going to stop talking, but that doesn't mean that I can't do more shooting. So what I'm going to do going forward is, videos are probably already long enough as they are, so for each gun I make a video and I will make a separate shooting only video which will be uploaded probably a couple of days later. But again, because of the backlog I mentioned earlier, it might take a little while to see that change come into effect. Where do I find guns so cheaply? Now that's kind of a two-part answer really. Where? Various places, but I get quite a lot of auctions. But the probably most relevant part to that is why. The reason a lot of these guns are so cheap are because they're guns not a lot of other people want. They're often not in very good condition or are missing parts, and they're quite often in job lots, and all of those things help to keep the price down. Do my neighbours not mind me shooting? No, or at least I don't think so. It's never been an issue. Now, I've got a good relationship with my neighbours. I'm very respectful of them, so if they're out in their gardens I won't do any shooting, including if they come out while I'm already shooting, I will stop shooting there and then, or shoot very safely. And a lot of my shooting that you see in the garden is just for videos. Most of my shooting is actually done in my garage behind me, and I do actually have probably a two-part video coming up on a project that I'm currently converting half of the garage into an indoor airgun range. Why is my video on zeroing a scope so complicated? So anyone who hasn't seen it, I've done a video on how to zero an air rifle scope, in which I went into a bit of the background theory and the maths behind it, things like how to calculate the clip values at different distances. Now, I don't use that method every time I zero a gun, no one does, but it is important to know the theory behind it. An analogy to use, think of it as playing an instrument. Anyone can pick up a guitar, play a few chords, but knowing the theory behind it is like being able to read music first. It's not essential, but it will greatly improve your background knowledge and your ability to do it quickly. Can I turn down the introduction music? Yes, I do listen to feedback, and that is a change I have made, but again, due to the backlog, it can take a little while to see these changes take effect. Are there any plans for Air Armoury merchandise? Now, a few people have asked about t-shirts and hoodies. At this point, probably not. I just don't think there's enough demand to warrant the hassle and costs of anything like that. But if people are genuinely interested, comment below or contact me on Facebook. If I did do anything, I might look into maybe some vinyl stickers, more than anything just because I'd like one myself for my gun safe. Why do I talk so much about the law? So I've got a couple of videos specifically on airgun law. Plus I covered it in a little bit of depth in my air shotgun video. I try to stay clear of the politics of it, but in the UK airgun ownership is quite tightly restricted by law, and breaching those laws results in you committing a firearms offence. So really I just want to try and educate people to make sure people are aware of the laws and restrictions around it. And in the case of the air shotgun video, really that was to cover myself, just to show that what I was doing was legal. Also, my background is in law, so it is an area of interest to me. Do I have and will I make a video on an Anschutz Hakim training rifle? This is a question I've received a few times when I've mentioned about military training air rifles in videos. For anyone who's not aware of that gun, it is a training air rifle made under contract to the Egyptian military in 1955. To replicate the Egyptian semi-automatic service rifle at the time, and it's probably one of the best known military training air guns. And the answer is yes, I do have one, and yes, I will be making a video on it. It's actually one that I am in the process of filming at the moment. Can I improve the sound quality? Now, this is primarily in relation to wind noise, and yes, that is the plan. I'm intending to get a new external microphone, but as with previous answers, because of the backlog, you may have a slight delay in seeing that take effect. And lastly, do I still respond to comments? Now, when the channel first started, I did used to respond to every single comment. I don't anymore, just for the volume of comments I receive. I do read all of them still, and I do still reply to selected comments that I think warrant an answer or a reply. So that's the end of this FAQ video. Now there may have been a few other questions I've been asked multiple times that I just couldn't think of at the time of making this. The ones I've covered are just the ones that immediately stood out when I sat down to think about this. So thanks for watching, hope you found the video interesting. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe to the Air Armoury, and until next time, keep your arms in the air.